Well, hello there. Welcome back to Shop Talk Tuesday Live. My name is Nathan. This is the Goodview Woodwork channel. Check out my drip, my swag, whatever you want to call it. We got some new hats, and I really like them. They're nice. I need to go grab something. I'll be right back. Okie dokie. Hey guys, sorry about that. I had to step away for a second. All right, let me know where you're chiming in from. I just had to grab a few pieces so that we could kind of go over what was going on here. If you saw the title, William Wackman, what's up, man? Been a long time. How you been? All right, guys. So let's hop into what is going on. KMB says, "Me too. Finally, not missing it." Yeah. What's up, guys? How are you? Like I said in the comments there, please don't. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We're gonna jump right in. First things first. I don't know if you guys saw the video that was posted yesterday. It was a charcuterie board set, and we have there was a few issues, nothing crazy. It's still very pretty, but I wanted to go over some of them here. Um, Mason says, "Hey, Sarasota's here. Looking forward to listening in. What is up?" William Wagman says, "Well, naked running through the woods, gathering wood. Watch out for those thorns." That's crazy. Craig says, "Same here. Been a while since I caught a live chat." What's up, guys? Thanks for chiming in. A few things we have coming up the pike. Finally, we got that big uh, dining table done. Nick Shelton says, "Hey, broski, what's up, Nick?" And so that same person is the one who's doing the podcast table. If you heard me say it, I know you're probably tired of hearing me say we're doing the podcast table, but we actually are doing it. Once again, he wanted his dining room table and benches first, and then we'll get right to that. So there'll be a video of us going to go pick up the slab and things like that. Also, we have so another friend of mine on Instagram. I'll share his stuff later. He asked me to make him a top for his table, and so I'll get an invoice out to him, and that way we will collab on that. Did you guys like the last video? We did a collaboration with Build Dad Build. That guy Nick is pretty cool, and I'm just thankful that he he wanted to work with me and do a small collaboration. Jennifer says, "Hey, Nathan and good viewers, happy Tuesday." What's up, Jennifer? Lost Sailor says, "Hey, bro, haven't checked in for a while. Peace to all good viewers." Yeah, what's up, guys? What's up, Lost Sailor? Okay. So we have the podcast table coming up. We have some benches coming up. We got some new merch in Goodview Woodworks hat. We've had it before, but it's all charcoal. This is like a sample, the white, which I really like, the trucker style hat. Also, so we have that river. It's a small river table coming up out of some olive wood. It'll be my first time using olive wood for a table. I've used it to turn on the lathe and stuff. So that's coming up soon. A couple more charcuterie boards and things like that. I bought some thermochromic pigment. I don't know if you guys know what that is. But it changes from a color. I got black, but it changes from black to clear at 88 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm pretty excited. Maybe we can make some trivets, something like that. If you guys have any ideas on what to use with the color change with temp, I see you, KMB, with the color change with temp pigment. Let me know if you have any ideas. I was thinking about maybe doing a trivet, which is like a pot holder thing that goes under a pot, or possibly just a serving board, but with a cool little surprise, you know. So those are some things that are coming up. I'm pretty excited about. If you guys still notice, I have the night light like right there. I'm still gonna do that. I gotta wait for these customers' jobs to get out of here, and one of these days I'll just go ahead and not finish that and knock it out. Um, but hey, so I wanted to tell you guys about the title of this live stream, and if you guys noticed the charcuterie board here, let's see if we can see it. You can see it. It has pink swirls, but it looks orangey. I don't know if that's showing up on camera very well. Anyway, maybe this one will help a little bit. I'll turn it up. I'll turn the brightness up a little bit so you guys can see. I don't know. I still don't know if it's coming up, but there's some like pink swirls deep down in there, and you can see them pretty easily with your eyes. Obviously, it's hard to pick up on camera. But if you guys have ever used a fluorescent pigment like pink or bright yellow or anything like that, you have to use more of the pigment to get the desired color. And because what happens when you mix it up, it wants to fall or separate or move into clumps. Here's the cheese knife, by the way, if you guys didn't end up getting to see that. It's about this size, right? It's just spread some schmutz or schmear on your stuff. Not schmutz, schmear on your bread or crackers or whatever. So this actually came out really nice. I don't know if you guys can see that. Came out pretty sweet. So really like this piece as part of the set. And so that's what happened. That's why it looks orange, but it was pink to start out with. When that pigment clumps together or settles to the bottom or falls or separates in the epoxy, you'll be able to see through it and gives it that orange look. So my suggestion would be to use a lot more pigment so that you don't have that happen. Craig Elliott says, isn't there a mermaid in that nightlight? She probably drowned waiting for it to be finished. I know, guys. Dang, you guys give me a hard time. That's okay though. Yeah, she is in there. She's in there, but I need to finish it. I really do. As you guys know, I have a new baby at the house. He's fine. He's 2 months old. Can you believe it? So we're still trying to get used to that and trying to manage my time and stuff, which I'm learning, which is pretty cool. I love having 2 kids. It's great. Having a boy and a girl, super awesome. And so anyway, if you guys have any questions about the epoxy stuff, let me know. Leave them in the comments. I would really appreciate it. Chad Hinwood says, hey all, how have you been? And he also hooked us up with a super chat. Looks great too, bro. Thanks, man. I really appreciate the super chat. Every little bit happens or helps. Oh my word, what am I saying? Craig KMB says, kids, congrats. Thank you so much. Craig says, my baby just turned 8 months. Wow, this year's flying by. Yeah, I remember I saw you post on Facebook. Man, it seems like it was just yesterday, right? Right before my baby boy was born. We also have some pretty cool news. So coming up at the first of the year, I may be building my own shop at my house. I think I'm going to do it because I just don't feel right using the guy I work for. We're using his warehouse for stuff. And so we'll see. I'm 90% sure we're going to build a pretty big shop over here at Good View Woodworks. So we'll do videos on each step of the process. I think I got a little child walking in here. Our friends are here and their kids are here too. So there she is. He's here. Anyway, I'll record every step of the process of building this shop. So I'm really excited about that. That's coming up next year. Don't know how far away that is, but I want to get it started probably the first of the year. So we'll probably be pouring a big concrete slab, and then we're going to build a steel building on top of it. I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 feet by 60 feet. So it's going to be huge. I'm really excited about it. Oh man. Jay Thomas says too many of those kids, and you need to start using your branding iron to keep track of them. Yeah, right. That's terrible. Craig Elliott says mine came home 2 days before the lockdown. Wow, that is crazy. Trey Miller says you're gonna build an epoxy crib. I don't think so. I'd be a little nervous about that. KMB says I do have a question. Best way to attach hairpin legs to epoxy, router out for plates on legs and screws. So no, they have these things called wood inserts, and those would be, in my opinion, the best thing to use in the epoxy. And that's because you just have more surface area for grip. Plus, you can use the bolts over and over again. If you bolt the legs to it, you can screw them in, screw them out, and it won't tear up the hole. Whereas if you're moving or somebody you're making the table for decides to take the legs off for any reason, you can reuse the leg. You can reuse the hardware and stuff like that without messing up the hole. So KMB also said, or drill big enough holes for a bolt and add some 5-minute epoxy. Yeah, you can use a 5-minute epoxy, but those wood inserts are the best to use, in my opinion. Renee Porter says, hey, from Virginia Beach. Hey, Mom, how are you? Jay Thomas says, are you worried about building a shop with these marked up lumber prices? No, because we're going to be building a steel building. It will be a steel building. It won't be made from lumber. It's the most cost-effective route at this point. So, Nate Glover says, "What's up, brother? What's up, Nate? How you doing?" Craig says, "Be sure to drill the holes in the epoxy a hair big so you don't crack the epoxy." That's right. He's talking about when you use wood inserts. You definitely need to drill the hole slightly bigger than you would. What it does is it gets tight. I've never cracked the epoxy with the wood inserts, but I have stripped the wood insert before it was all the way in, which is kind of a bummer. But just a good way to, from what I found out, to keep those things flush at the top is countersink the top of the hole a little bit, and they go right in. Thanks for the questions, guys. I really appreciate it. This is what this time is for here at Shop Talk Tuesday. It's a Q&A session. We're here to talk about anything relates to talking shop. So anything that you want to talk about in and around the shop, feel free to talk about. We'll answer some questions. If you guys have, if you have anything that you want to talk about, feel free to ask. Chad said only 5 likes? Question mark. He said, "What's up with that?" I'm asking the same thing. What's up with the only 6 likes? No, it's okay, guys. Thank you for hitting the like button and stuff like that. Puts me up higher in the queue. I would really appreciate it if you did. Just helps me out, and it only takes just a second. So appreciate it. Craig says, I used a hammer in wood inserts and broke the table in half, pounding it into the epoxy. Wow, Craig. Man, you need to put them guns down, bro. That is crazy. Cracked it in half? Man, that was terrible. All right, guys. So Trey Miller says, so I have incredible solutions. 1 5-inch. Wow. Okay. 1.5-inch pour curing right now. After that, I need to do seal coats and flood coats. Should I use a countertop epoxy, or can I use the same epoxy for a coffee table? So if you guys saw in one of my videos, I used the casting epoxy for a finish. It worked okay, but because it set up so long, it took so long to set up, it ran off the edges. So I would recommend using tabletop epoxy. However, sorry. And that's all right. Hey, honey, how are you? When you turn around, just wave to everybody. Okay. Okay. So to get back to your question, I would recommend using a tabletop epoxy. But for the seal coats, especially if you have some punky wood, which means like it's kind of rotten and soft, use the casting epoxy. It will soak in really deep. It'll give you a much better seal coat. You'll use less epoxy too because it was able to saturate and soak into the wood much deeper. So I like to use, even though it takes a little bit more time in cure time, I like to use casting epoxy for the seal coats.
Sorry.
That's okay, honey. I think she's grabbing toys for the kids. Wayne says, he said from Philly. So what's up, Wayne? Nate Glover says, I'm gonna like it, then unlike it, so I can like it twice. Hey man, thanks. Wayne Van says, nice set. Michelle Anna says, hey Nathan. Hey Michelle, how are you? I'm surprised you're on my live stream. What's up? Chad says, did it to the river. Did it river table and cracked and filled the cracks with resin. Will that be okay? Yeah, for sure. Totally will be okay. Say hello.
Hi.
That's Mrs. Goodview Woodworks. So KMB says, have you ever used Cimarron deep pour? No, I've actually never even heard it. Albright Bros. What's up, Albright Bros? Salt Lake City, Utah. Go check them out. If you have kids, have your kids go check them out. They have a pretty cool little channel starting up, and they do flips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. So have them go check that out. Trey Miller hitting us up with the super chat. I really appreciate it. My mom, Renee Porter, says, hey, Michelle. Steve Kirkland, what? Thanks, man. I really appreciate that too. Coming in fresh with the super chat. Wow, thanks, man. May Kelly says, I would like to create a large form to make a pair of wings. What's the best? What's the best? It says WA. So are you asking what's the best material for a form or what's the best epoxy? Let me know. Regina says, well, hello, first live. Hey, Regina, thanks for commenting and stuff on all the videos. I really appreciate it. And Michelle Ann says, I want one of those gorgeous tables. Okay. Yeah. Email me or text me and we can, if you really want one, we'll see what we can do. And Renee Porter says, hello, Albright Bros. Steve Kirkland says, code for incredible solutions on Amazon. Yes. Guys, if it's your first time buying Incredible Solutions, you can get a 10% off discount. It's GoodView 10 WW. I'll type it in the comments real quick. GoodView 10 WW. Oh, if I actually select the field, it'll work. Okay, that is the 10% off coupon on Amazon for the Incredible Solutions. You guys can use my coupon code, and if it's the first time that you've bought on Amazon, you can get 10% off. Yep. Steve Kirkland says, thanks, no problem. Hopefully that helps out. As you guys know, any of you guys have done epoxy can get expensive, so this will be just a little bit of help. I think it'll save you around $22.50 on the big 3-gallon kit. Trey Miller says, it's cold as ish in California right now. How can I tell if my epoxy is set up enough to pop it out of the form? Great question. I would choose a spot near the edge of the epoxy, and if you can put a fingernail mark in it, it's not ready to come out of the form. Steve says, I finally found your live show. Your videos are great and very helpful. I had a fly land on my table on the final pour. Watched your video to help me fix it. Oh, that's awesome, Steve. That's great. I'm glad you're able to fix it. Jennifer says, corrugated plastic is flexible, can add and can work for form sides. Good way to recycle some of those elections. That's awesome. Some way to recycle some of those election signs. That's great. Remember though, make sure you clean off the election sign before you use it, okay? Get all those dirt and bugs off of it. Jay Thomas says, anybody ever use epoxy to make an arcade control panel? I'm curious if the buttonholes would crack or weaken the epoxy too much. Well, from what I've noticed is the tabletop stuff is a little bit more flexible, so it won't crack. If you press on it, it'll flex more than it'll break. And the casting epoxy is much stronger than the countertop epoxy, but it's more rigid. So if you were to drop it, it would crack. But I think it'd totally be strong enough for buttons. But I don't know about people, really hitting the buttons if over time if it would wear. I'm not sure. That's a great question. Funky Monkey's Chainsaw Art says, how's it going from Kentucky, my friend? I'm a chainsaw carver and I love your channel, man. Thanks to you, I'm working on my second river table. Your videos have been a huge help. That's awesome. Funky Monkey, what's up? Thanks for coming on live. I don't think I've ever seen you live. At least I've never read any of the comments from you. I really appreciate you being on here this evening. Thank you. May Kelly says, let's see if I can do this again. Oh, looking for a cheap and good way to make a form of wings. A form of wings. Okay. I would say the cheapest way to make your wings would be to build a form out of some melamine or something like that to a rough shape of the wings that you're looking for. And then obviously you'd probably have to carve the set of wings that you need. Unless you have a CNC machine or something that can cut it out. So let's say you had a form that was shaped kind of like a V or a W or something for some wings, and then Duke stuff. He just recently made a pair of wings for one of his projects, and he did a great job. First of all, he always does a good job. Dude's legitimately an artist. Great. I mean, blows my mind every time, and he's hilarious too. But he used some like rubber mold making material to make the wings. So he carved wings out of wood first, and then poured this material over them and pulled it out, and was able to make a set of wings. KMB says, I would say find something you like, get silicone mold kit, make a mold. You could actually do one and turn it inside out. Exactly. Yeah, right. KMB has it right. Chad says, I wish I had a CNC. They're like $20,000 though. I know, man. They're crazy. However, you can actually get one for much cheaper than that. I think the one we bought for work, I think it's a you can put a 4x8 sheet on there. It'll cut a full 4x8 sheet. I want to say it was like $6,000, somewhere in that, between $4,000 and $6,000. It actually wasn't ridiculously expensive. I mean, that is expensive. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't ridiculously expensive. I'll see if I can't figure out the brand and see if I can tell you guys about it next week. Trey Miller says, speaking of CNC, if we don't have access to a shop like yours, what's the best way to plane/level a table after it's popped out of the form? That's a great question. If you've seen some of my other videos, you can always reach out to like a sign shop or somebody that has a CNC machine, and you can rent theirs. Like you just give it to them and tell them you want it flattened, and they can do it. I've done it a couple times at like 3 different places, and one place charges $60 an hour, and it takes them less than an hour to do it. So $60 and you got it, which for me, especially on a huge table, a 4 foot by 9 foot table, is totally worth it. Another way would be to you can make a small jig. Now this depends on. I don't have a huge shop, but even if you had just a small area to work outside temporarily on some sawhorses, you can take 2 pieces of MDF and make an L shape with it. So make an L, like glue 2 pieces together, make them long, and then build a little router jig, and you can use a router, go back and forth, and to plane something straight. Steve says, What do you do with the leftover epoxy? How long will epoxy last once opened? I have a few jugs with a little left in each. So generally, the rule of thumb is they will last for a year on the shelf. So they have like a 1 year shelf life. You'll notice what starts to happen in the containers is they'll start to amber a little bit, and that's okay. The bad part though is if it starts to crystallize, sometimes you can't get it to come back from being crystallized. You can't get it back to a liquid unless you heat it up, and even sometimes it still doesn't work. So you got about a year, maybe a little longer. Hopefully that helps. KMB says, CNC, a thing in my dreams. That's right. And also says router sled is great for flattening. Yeah, it is. Jay Thomas says some cities where you find maker spaces, they sometimes have CNC mills. That's right. That's another good point too. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate that. Also, Steve No. So this last video that I posted of the charcuterie board, I was able to actually make a bunch of stuff. So what I do is if I have, what I tend to do is I'll make my table just a little bit bigger than it's supposed to be, and obviously trim off the edges, trim it to size. I use those drop pieces for other stuff. Just like if you notice the drop in the last video, it made a set of 4 coasters. You can see I have a couple coasters here, and it also, a piece of the drop made the cheese knife. Pretty cool little handle, right? It's got like some places to grip it and all that. But anyway, it made a really cool little cheese knife. That was part of the drop too. So I'm gonna come out with another video just kind of showing you guys how to maximize your profits when it comes to epoxy, because epoxy is expensive, and all these little drop pieces, you could throw them away, or you could use your imagination and come up with some other things that you can sell too. So we had enough drop off this last one that I was able to make a couple of necklaces, like charms or whatever. We have a set of 4 coasters that came out of that. We had the charcuterie board itself. We had a cheese knife. And so we actually had a lot come out of that one project. So you can actually get a lot of stuff if you really plan ahead. You can maximize your profits on your one project, right? So we don't want to have a whole bunch of waste. That's all I'm saying. Chad Hinwood says a year after it's been open. Craig says, if anyone is in Indiana, I have a Wood Whiz slab flattener, 72 inches wide by 21 feet long. Holy cow, 6 feet by 21 long. Nails on a Nickel said, hi, Nathan. Chad, I need to get a joiner at some point. Yeah, those things are really nice. Elaine Campbell says, sorry, 12:45 a.m. here in Scotland. Wow. Must sign off and go to bed now. Night, I'll enjoy the rest of the hints and tips. Hey, thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate that. Trey says, got to go back to work, but thanks for answering the questions and for the videos. Wouldn't have been able to do this without your channel. Hey, Trey, really appreciate that too. Regina says, how thin is too thin for a piece of cedar for a table? So great question. As far as a table, I don't know whether it's a coffee table, but I'll give you both. I would never go less than 1 inch for a coffee table, and I would never go less than 1 3/4 inches for a dining table. Hopefully that helps. They're just sometimes they get too thin. The only way you could go thinner, obviously, is if you build a skirt underneath the epoxy table so to keep it from moving or bowing or anything like that. So great question. And then the last comment that I have so far, sorry, I can't read your handle, but it says, do you prefer to flood project or layers pour? Okay, so great question. So I prefer an oil finish for the top. I don't prefer a flood coat actually, but a lot of people do. And also when pouring, I don't like to pour layers. I would rather pour one big pour. It's much easier that way. However, you can get really cool effects by pouring in layers like we did on the dining table. Regina says, coffee, I have a slab that's 2 inches. Well, there you go. Yeah, 2 inches is perfect. Steve No says, I used some epoxy that was over a year old and poured it into a 5-inch by 22-inch form, thinking make some coasters. It came out of the form flexible. I have it hardening in a circle shape now. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's all it, after a year, I think it kind of gets, sometimes it can kind of get messy. It doesn't really want to cure. I've had that same exact issue. It stayed flexible for a long time. May Kelly says, how do you know if a wood slab is dry enough to epoxy? Great question. I recommend you go on Amazon and get a moisture meter, a probeless moisture meter, one that you don't have to jam into the wood, one that you can just set on top. It will record the moisture content in a percent, and anything 13% and less is ideal. But you really want to be in the single digits. That's where you want it to be. But you can do something 13% or less moisture content. X Daydream X says, how much epoxy do you need for a 5x6 door? So that depends. Are you making the door solely out of epoxy, or do you want to have like a wood slab in there? Also, how thick is the door? 2 inches thick, I would imagine, 1.5 inches, something like that. Regina says, I don't have a bandsaw and having a difficult time finding someone to do it. I'm going to thin the cedar for a couple of tables. Oh, you need to resaw. Okay, you need to resaw your lumber. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, that's exactly what you need to do. You need to find somebody with a bandsaw that has a resaw blade on it, and that way you can tilt it up. The bandsaw that I have, the Rikon, I think I paid right at $1,000 for it, something like that. And it can resaw up to 14 inches. And so that thing works great. I love that saw. Jennifer says, now you're worrying me. It takes a while to save up and wait. It takes me a while to save up and I get my supplies as I can afford. Epoxy might be almost a year old. Yikes. No, this is a year old after it's opened, not a year old, not shelf time before opened. As long as it's not open, you should be okay. Regina says, found one for 600, 14-inch. Yeah, there you go. I mean, Regina, I don't always buy stuff new. I get a lot of used stuff, and so I would recommend trying to find a used bandsaw would be great. I've used my bandsaw all the time, and it was worth every penny. It's actually made me money, so it's paid for itself and made money for me. So I would recommend totally getting one. Daydream says it's 1.25 inches thickness, just one about 1/8 inch of epoxy. Oh, okay. So if you just want 1/8 of an inch, here's the rule of thumb. You want to use 5 ounces per square foot. Okay. So let's see, where was your door? 5 foot by 6 foot door. So that would be 30 times 5, be 150 ounces of epoxy. So that would be a little over, so a gallon and a half should do you pretty good. 1.5 to 2 gallons. But yeah, the rule of thumb is about 5 ounces per square foot. Hopefully that helps. Steve says, where do you buy your legs for your tables, or do you make them? So I have made them, but a really good friend of mine, Hector, he's been on a couple of my videos. He's been making the legs for me. You know, why not help a brother out, right? He's helping me out. You know, I'm helping him out. So we work together. He does a really good job. Great metal worker. If you don't have a friend like that, Etsy is a great place to find table legs. Steve says Hector rocks. Excuse me. All right, guys. spelling. I know, Regina. I read that spanking. So what? uh, nails on nickel, ears perk up. Someone said spanking, not spanking. Oh, you guys are hilarious. Well, All right, guys. So I'm gonna answer one more question. X Daydream X says, "Okay, thank you so much. I'll give it a try." Um, so as far as a seal coat, you only need 1 ounce per square foot for a seal coat and 5 ounces for a flood coat. So hopefully that helps. Um, Regina says, "I'm going to my corner." Steve says, "Do you use the same epoxy for sealing as you do with for pouring?" Yes, I like to use the casting epoxy for sealing. It soaks in much better to the wood because it sets up slower, so it has time to soak in, much longer time. So that's what I use. Chad says, "I saw a vid from Black Forest Wood Company where they made some river resin LEDs for a table." Yes. I haven't. I've seen some of their stuff too. Dude, those guys are great. Super smart. They know a lot more than I do. They've been doing it for a lot longer than I have. But yeah, I like the LED stuff too. That was what that was going to be for that nightlight over there. This one right here, nightlight. I'll have some LEDs for that one. So, but guys, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the night. I want to thank you so much for chiming in, and thank you for asking questions. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Those always help me out. They're big support to the channel. Helps me keep posting content and all those things. So once again, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to sign out for this evening. So guys, thank you so much. And as always, thanks for hanging out with us. Have a good evening. You guys rock.